So very cool to have Lasse Sørensen with us today for another Uncut episode. Lasse, of course, is the most successful driver in World DX so far with 5 victories to date. Lasse, how disappointing was it in the end to lose the season 1 title up to Martin Štefanko at the final race after such a dominating season?
Yeah, obviously it was really hard to lose the last final, if you can say it like this. But that's a part of the game, and you have to be strong throughout the whole season, but you also have to be really on point in the last race, and you do your best in every race, and that's what I like about this championship. So yeah, obviously it's hard to lose the super final or the big final, but I was super happy for the whole season, and the amount of wins I had through whole last season was really enjoyable. So looking forward to hopefully can replicate that this year, but I think the championship is really strong this year, and there's a lot of competitive drivers, so it's going to be a bit harder this time.
Yeah. Did you already start practicing the Nordschleife for the super final?
Obviously, I didn't start practicing yet, but I will start a couple of weeks before this time, because last time I didn't really have enough time to put the practice in, but hopefully I can do this this year.
Yeah. Last year at the beginning of the season you were pretty much up to speed very fast with the EX0. Does this car fit your driving style, or why were you so quick right from the start?
I think last year I put a lot of practice and effort in before the season, or during the start of the season. So I started learning the car quite quickly, and then all the practice I did in the beginning was really helped me to understand how the car works and how to drive the car fast. And now I kind of know how to drive the car fast and how to understand like the battery stuff and the regen stuff. Mm-hmm. I think the battery regeneration is an important thing in this car, and also it affects how the car drives in the corners. So understanding where to put the regen and all these stuff was a big thing to understand for me, and I think now it makes it a lot easier for me to go into a new track or learn a new track, because I know, okay, the regen has to be on 5, 6, 7 or 8 or whatever, and that's on that way I can start doing more laps in practicing where the braking points are, and improving my own driving instead of actually focusing on where to put the setup and the balance of the car.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How and when did you get into esports racing? Because you have been also a real world racing driver as your brother Marco, of course. Yeah.
I started actually sim racing or esport racing when I think I was 12, so that must be 13 years now. But back then I did some online championships, and I mainly did it beside when I did karting. I did karting for half of my life, basically. So I did the sim racing beside, just as a fun thing when I was back home. Then I did racing when I was back home, and then went for racing in all around the world in go-karting, and then back home and racing again. So yeah, I have always been doing it pretty much since I was 10, 12 years old. And then in the last 5 years, I started doing it more seriously, and starting to also helping Tom obviously was a big step in the esport thing, and also been managing my own team in esport and doing all the 24 hours Daytona, and actually, even though it looks quite simple to just buy a simulator and drive, but there is a lot of preparation in doing all the things right, and all the setup work, and a common thing also in real life now in endurance racing, for example, is the balance of performance, and that's also a thing in esport racing. So you have to test a lot of different cars, and you have to make sure you understand the cars correctly, and there's a lot of preparation in it. So when you have a 24-hour race, you start 3 weeks before with the practice. So it has been a work for me for the last 2 years now, and I've been doing it pretty much full time. obviously I miss the real racing a lot, and I hope I can get back soon. There's some things planned for next year. But now I really enjoy doing esport, and I think it doesn't give me the same adrenaline as real life, but all the racing is as good, and just driving around in nice, awesome race cars is also enjoyable in a simulator. So, and that's a big part of it as well.
So that would have been my next question. So there's really a will in you returning to real racing as well in the future.
Yeah, for me, when you are born racer, I would say you have been racing your whole life in real life. It's kind of like you get addicted to it. Like it's not good to talk about drug addict, but it's like a drug it's like you get addicted to it and you want to just keep doing it. And now I have been out of real racing for just about over a year. And I need to get back, and I need to get back in a race car, and I have to win races and get this, the winning feeling again. And to perform the perfect lap in real life is just something special. So I want to get back, and I also have a plan to get back, and I have a manager working beside to help me to get some contracts done. So hopefully next year I can get back in a real car. But one important point is I will still do all the esports stuff as much as I can, and do all the racing, and I will still be the manager for my own team as well. So I will do both. I will do half and half, I would say.
Okay. How did you end up with TK9 Eastwood last year? Did you know Tom before?
I have known both Tom and his son Oliver and his family for 10 years, I think. So it was quite obvious when they wanted to go into esport. They contacted me and asked me if I wanted to do it, and obviously yes, I would always help Tom, and he's a fantastic guy and enjoyable to be together with. So obviously that was a big yes.
Yeah. How do you work together with Tom? Is he closely following what you're doing with the team?
He doesn't really have a lot of time because he's doing a lot of other different stuff. But even though he is sitting in a different country or whatever he's doing, he's always on the phone and watching the races, and on WhatsApp doing that was a good qualifying, or that was a nice race. So he is following really, really closely. He's not that big part of how the team is running and how the practice is running, but he is always there for the races, and he's always commentating on how the result is and stuff.
You have a new teammate in Oscar. You mentioned him already this year. He says you are helping him a lot. How do you rate him?
I think he is a young star to come. He is really talented. Also in real life, he is doing really well. And I think if you compare his age to how good he is, I think he has a bright future ahead in both esport and also real racing. And he is. One thing that is really noticeable about Oscar is that when you tell him to do something, if he has to brake later in a corner or a bit earlier on power or whatever, he just goes out and instantly does the thing right. And that's, in my opinion, what a talent is. So he's doing really good, and I'm proud to have him as a teammate.
Yeah, it's cool to have you both on the championship. Next week, of course, we are going to Le Mans virtually for the French Prix at Le Mans. So it's up to you to prepare a setup. Last time, Oscar told me the setup was very, very strange and difficult to drive. So what are you coming up with for the others next week? Can you share us already?
I think the last setup we had in Daytona was really focused on rear wheel drive. I think we go back to the more four-wheel drive again, like we had in Silverstone. I think for me the car is most enjoyable to drive when it's four-wheel driven, because you have 1,000 horsepower and it's really hard to drive with only rear wheel drive. So I think we go back to more four-wheel drive, and obviously Le Mans you have to have low downforce, and so we have to adjust that a bit. But I think overall the car will drive a bit like Silverstone.
Okay. What will make the difference at Le Mans next week?
Oh, I think like we saw in Daytona, especially in the final, the slipstream will be really important in Le Mans. You have the Porsche curves to kind of try to get a gap for the other competitors not to get your slipstream, but I think it will be really hard because the slipstream is really strong in these cars, and that's also why the racing is so fun and enjoyable to watch. So I think it will be the key to try to get out of the slipstream somehow, but I think it will be really difficult to get.
You've been at Le Mans at the real race at the 24 hours as a TV commentator this year. How was the experience?
Yeah, that was good. It was really different to what I'm used to, but it was really nice experience and also fun to be a part of and try to learn these experience to commentate, because you have to. Normally, you see all the other drivers as competitors, but now you have to get all the info from the drivers and get all the insiders to have something to talk about, and you get to watch the race from a totally different view when you're commentating compared to what you see when you're a driver. So that was really fun, and I never had such good tickets for Le Mans before, because the media tickets you can basically get in everywhere, and that was really fun to try.
You mentioned earlier your own esports team. Can you tell us a little bit about it? What are you doing in that team, or which championships?
Yeah, my own team, it's called Fire Simsport, and we mainly participate in R-Factor 2 and iRacing. And then we do basically all the big races like 24 hours Daytona, 24 hours Le Mans, the virtual Le Mans Championship, and all these big events. And then we are mainly or only basically Danish drivers. So it's basically a team that tries to get Denmark forward in esport, and that's what the ambition is with the team. So we are eight drivers now, and 6 of them are doing sim racing full time, and that's also where we can start to work with teams like TK9 Eastwood. I can take also, if we have missing a driver or need a driver, I can take one of the drivers to get in to help us. Mm-hmm. And that's also a big advantage when we are doing practicing and stuff, to have extra drivers to help us, even though they're not racing the championship. But yeah, it's a great team, and we already won a lot of big races, and we won the 24 hours Daytona, which is one of the biggest races in the year. So it's going really well, and I'm super happy I mean, I didn't really expect to win these big races already the first year. So super happy for the team, and also super happy for the drivers that we managed to do that.
Can you already make a living from esports racing?
The drivers can. I mean, it's not like they can go out and buy the most expensive cars yet, but hopefully that's a way where the future will bring, so they can get more monthly payment, if you can say it like that. But now they can live in a smaller apartment, and they can get food and drinks and what they need, and then they can do esport as full time. For myself, I didn't really prioritize to give myself some payment, so I haven't got any payment for doing esport since I started, because I get my payment from different real life racing stuff. So yeah, I can get payment, but I chose not to do that.
Last question. Of course, World DX is also about racing for the climate. It's getting more and more important. What are you doing in your personal life in regard of sustainability?
I try to obviously the trash cans. I try to sort them the right way, and I try to think as green as possible, and try to benefit the climate where I can. Obviously, when you're racing real race cars, it's not, most of the championships are not 100% green, but when I'm in my normal life back home, I try to do all things as green as possible, and I always have the green climate thing in my mind, and I also love to be a part of RCCO and World EX, because I think the the goal and ambition for the championship is great, and I think it's totally different compared to what other guys do, other championships do, and that's really enjoyable to be a part of.
Yeah, very nice, and we also like very much having you in our championship, because we all believe you are great, not only a great driver but also a very cool character. So thanks a lot.
Thank you
for talking to us, for taking the time, because we know you're very, very busy. And yeah, so looking forward to see you at the virtual track again next week at Le Mans. Thank you very much, Lasse. Yeah.
Thank you very much for taking time to do the interview with me, and looking forward to race as well. And hopefully we'll get some good racing in Le Mans again.